The Black Raven's First Flight Scene 1. The city remembers. They say the city forgets you, that it swallows your name, drowns your legacy, and spits out your bones into the gutters. But I've walked these streets. I know better. The city remembers. It holds every scream in its brickwork, every betrayal in the rusted nails of its taverns. The bloodstains might fade, but memory doesn't. Not here, not in Arquest, especially not in Myerlite. I crouched on the lip of a rust-eaten gargoyle, its stone jaw cracked, wings broken, eyes long since gouged by bird and weather. Far below, the Myerlite district sprawled like a disease, its streets knotted with filth, steam and shadows. I watched the wind writhe through the alleys, tugging at torn laundry lines and broken lanterns. Everything here leaned, walls, roofs, people. A district built on slant, surviving on spite. Down there, where torchlight flickered against broken cobble, monsters walked in human skin. They wore the skins of brothers, but they preyed like beasts. One of them still breathed. Vesh-Narot. The name was a rusted blade in my mouth. I hadn't said it aloud in years, but I whispered it tonight beneath the bone edges of my mask. It helped me focus. I didn't forget. The city didn't either. I adjusted my footing, crouched deeper into shadow, the slick curve of my raven mask catching only the faintest glint of starlight. From this height, Arquest looked almost peaceful. A lie. A beautiful lie. The grave taught me how to see through such lies. I remembered the first lesson they beat into my skull. You are not the sword, you are the hand that moves it. Your will must be colder than the blade. My fingers rested on the knives at my belt. My cloak pulled tight to mute the lines of my body. Every breath was shallow, measured, disciplined. Far below, the bloody bunny blazed with laughter and smoke. I could smell spiced meat and spilt ale even from here. Someone cursed loudly through a cracked window. Another voice barked a name. There were 8 men in there, maybe more. I didn't care. I wasn't there for the soldiers. I was there for the butcher. Vesh-Narot. I saw him when I was 8. I remember how he smiled as he cut my mother open in the street. I remember the blood on my hands. I remember her eyes. Not fear, not even pain, just sorrow. And I remember the hunger that came after, the days hiding in basements, the nights stealing scraps, hunted like a rat. Until the shadows found me, until I was brought to the grave, where they taught me to become something else. I didn't pray for vengeance. Vengeance was for poets and drunkards. What I wanted, what I needed, was balance. A scale tipped back into place. Tonight it begins. I rose silently, pulling the black cloth tighter across my chest. Knives in place, gas bomb nestled by my ribs, grapple line secured, mask tight. Every motion rehearsed until instinct, until muscle memory whispered louder than thought. I stepped off the gargoyle and vanished into the wind. Scene 2. The Bloody Bunny. The bloody bunny sat like a swollen wound in the gut of Myerlite. Its sign, a flaking, hand-painted rabbit with hollow black eyes and red streaks across its mouth, swung on rusted chains above the warped entry door. Lanterns flanked the entrance, their glass smudged with smoke and grease, throwing a sickly orange light into the fog. Music bled from the cracks in the shutters, a screeching fiddle scraping over the low thump of a drum. I crouched on a rooftop across the street, watching. A light drizzle had begun. It coated the cobblestones in a slick sheen, blurred the torchlight, dulled the sharp edges of the alley. It was the kind of night when men vanished and the city pretended not to notice. 2 guards flanked the door, fat silhouettes in ill-fitted armor. One scratched his neck and muttered about the cold. The other yawned wide enough to swallow a coin. They wore red rabbit sigils over their chests, the fabric faded, threadbare, more ornament than armor, more bark than bite. But still men, still threats. I watched for a minute longer, waited for the wind to shift. When it did, I moved. Silent as breath, I descended the back slope of the roof, rolled down the rain-slicked tiles, and leapt to the adjoining eave. The motion didn't break my line of sight. Every move had been practiced 100 times in the grave's death pits. Parkour wasn't sport, it was survival. From the edge of the rooftop, I pulled 2 throwing knives from their loops, custom-forged blackened steel, grip-wrapped in ash thread. balanced for speed, silent in flight. The guards laughed at something. The one on the left was lighting a hand-rolled smoke. I threw. 2 flashes of silver disappeared into the dark, 2 thuds, 2 bodies collapsed, twitching. The smoke drifted into the alley. No alarm, no cry. The city didn't care. I landed between their corpses. One was still trying to understand. His mouth was moving, but no sound came. My boot pressed to his throat. Silence returned. Inside the tavern, the noise continued. Fiddle, shouting, mugs clinking. They hadn't heard. I crept to the tavern's side, crouched beneath the nearest window, and peered in through a slit in the warped wooden frame. There he was, Vesh Narot, his back to the hearth, sprawled across a patched velvet chair like some corpulent king. His hair was shorter now, but still greasy, slicked back with something foul and shiny. His beard had gone grey around the edges. The scar down his left cheek puckered when he laughed. And he laughed often. 3 men sat with him at the table. One wore a ring-mailed jerkin and had a heavy iron cudgel strapped to his back. Another had tattoos crawling up his neck like worms, a hooked knife dancing between his fingers. The third was lean and pale, sharpening a barbed short sword. 4 more men scattered around the room, 2 gambling in the corner, 1 eating behind the bar with a curved cleaver at his hip, and the last, half asleep, slumped near the fireplace with a spear resting against his shoulder. 8 men, 8 threats. But I didn't see them. I only saw him. Narot leaned back and drained a horn cup. Then he reached down, scratched himself, and belched loud enough to shake the rafters. The men laughed like it was scripture. I reached under my cloak and pulled 3 blades. Breathed in. The wall before me was rotten. The frame beneath the window sagged with water. I'd mapped this in my mind. I sprinted, 2 steps, up the wall, off the barrel, leap. My body crashed through the window in a burst of glass and splinters. Time slowed. Mid-air, I released all 3 blades. One struck the cudgel-bearer in the throat. One pierced the tattooed man's gut. One embedded itself beneath the swordsman's collarbone. By the time I hit the floor, 3 bodies were dead or dying. The others froze. Narot stumbled back, reaching for a wicked black axe that hung behind his chair. What the He saw the mask. His eyes went wide. "Kill that rat," he bellowed. "Gut him." The 4 survivors moved. One vaulted the bar, drawing a cleaver in each hand. Another hurled his dice cup and drew a notched saber. The cleaver man came at me from the kitchen door, while the spearman shoved himself upright and grabbed his weapon with trembling hands. They came fast, but I was faster. The man with the saber lunged, shouting. I slid under the blow, carved through his ankle tendon, and slashed his throat as he fell. The bar leaper came in, swinging both cleavers, wild, aggressive. I took a step back, let him overextend, then trapped his wrist and slammed his skull into the corner post. He dropped with a grunt and didn't move again. The kitchen cleaver swung low. I jumped, landed with a roll, and came up behind him. One slice across the spine dropped him screaming. The spearman was wide-eyed, backing toward the door. I moved fast, closed the gap, knocked the spear aside with a flick of my wrist, and buried my dagger deep into his chest. He gasped once, then silence. The air reeked of iron and oil and cooked meat. Narot was breathing hard, axe drawn, backing away toward the hearth. And that's when the room turned white. Scene 3, Lightning and Blood. Lightning ripped through my spine, white-hot, blinding, every muscle seized. My legs left the ground and I flew backward, slammed into the far wall so hard I saw darkness fold in around the edges of my vision. Smoke coiled from my back. The scent of scorched cloth filled my nostrils. Something cracked in my ribs. Pain like I hadn't known in years. I hit the floor, limbs spasming. And then her voice. "Should have stayed in the shadows, little bird." Footsteps clicked softly over broken glass. I forced my eyes to open. She stood over me, framed in the firelight, unbothered by the blood, by the corpses, by the ruin I'd carved into her world, the mage. She looked my age, maybe younger, but her presence filled the room like a queen's. Purple hair tied in a loose braid, sharp eyes glowing with pale violet light. Her skin shimmered faintly, her fingers dancing with electric currents. "You're cute," she said with a smile, in a dead, brooding kind of way. I coughed, rolled to one side. Pain lanced through me. I reached for the dagger at my thigh, but stopped. Her palm raised. Another spark built between her fingers. Ah, she cooed. I can burn out your eyes before you blink. Behind her, I heard Narot's laugh. A thick, guttering thing. Half relief, half derision. Told you, didn't I? He spat. Told you I had friends. What now, Blackbird? He was limping, one arm cradled against his chest, axe still in hand. Blood streaked his thigh where I'd cut him earlier. Kill him, he growled to her. Make him scream. She tilted her head, watched me. What's your name? I said nothing. Silent type. Her eyes narrowed. You're one of them, aren't you? From the grave. I didn't move, didn't speak. Well, you made a mess, she sighed. They're going to be so cross with me for letting you get hurt first. The magic built again in her hand. It lit her face like a lantern, beautiful, cruel, cold. I moved, fast, not toward her but across my body. My hand slipped beneath my cloak and drew out a smooth black sphere, etched with faint silver veins. A gift from the grave. I threw it. She reacted, instinct, reflex. But it was too late. The orb cracked mid-air. A burst of black vapor exploded from the center, cold, clinging, thick as oil. She gasped, tried to step back, hands waved, sparks flying. Then the gas wrapped around her head, her mouth opened to scream. It never came. She staggered, dropped to one knee, then fell. Sideways, limp. Her eyes fluttered once, then shut. Silence. Narot screamed. You whore! He came at me, axe raised, howling, limping but fast despite the wounds. I stood, my whole body ached. The lightning had rattled my bones, but rage carried me, rage and memory. I met him in the center of the room. His axe swung, wide, brutal. I ducked low, spun, and slashed his forearm. He growled, reversed the swing, but I sidestepped and cut his ribs. He grabbed me by the cloak, yanked hard, and drove his forehead into my mask. Stars exploded behind my eyes. We broke apart, circling. You don't even know who you're fighting, he hissed, blood dripping from his lip. I know, I said. My voice was cold, controlled, the first words I'd spoken all night. It rattled him. He rushed again. I let him. His axe came down. I dodged, stepped inside the arc, and drove my blade under his ribs. He gasped. I twisted. He swung backward. Elbow caught my jaw. I fell, rolled, came up near the hearth. He staggered, trying to breathe. You, he rasped, you don't even... I moved before he could finish, closed the distance, slashed once, twice, across his chest. He dropped to his knees, still clutching the axe, still trying to fight. Do you remember her? I asked. He blinked, confused. Red shawl, street vendor, little boy crying beside her. His eyes widened. You made me watch. Recognition. He saw it now. You laughed while she bled. I tore off the mask, let him see my face. His jaw trembled. You're dead, he muttered. We killed that brat. I saw him die. No, I said. I stabbed him through the heart. Slow, deep. He died there in his own tavern, gasping for a name he hadn't spoken in years. Mine. Scene 4. The message. The tavern was quiet now. No more music, no more laughter, just smoke, blood, and the soft crackle of the hearth. I stood still in the center of it all, surrounded by the bodies of men who had lived cruel lives and died quick deaths. The kindest thing I could offer them. The girl, no. The mage lay unconscious near the shattered window, curled in a coil of shadows and gas fumes. Her purple hair spilled across the floor like ink. She breathed softly. I left her alive on purpose. She wasn't part of the past, just a weapon someone else had pointed. She'd learn from this. Maybe, if she was smart, if she was scared. I walked past her, silent, limping slightly now. My side ached where Narot's elbow had struck me. My back still throbbed where lightning had kissed it. But pain was a teacher, not a warning. And tonight I had passed the test. I stood over Narot's body. He looked smaller now. All monsters do, once they're dead. I knelt, pressed 2 fingers into the blood pooling beneath his chest. It was warm. I turned to the back wall of the tavern, just above the bar, where bottles had shattered and liquor dripped like sweat. And I wrote, The grim shadows. Slow, deliberate, thick strokes. Then I drew the eye beneath it, the mark of the ones who walk unseen, who do what kings and cowards never dare. 2 sharp curves, 2 perfect teardrops, blood for ink, justice for memory. I stepped back and looked at the scene, the ruined tavern, the scattered dead, the message carved in red. Someone would find this place by dawn, word would spread, and the city would whisper, "The grim shadows have returned." I sheathed my blade, checked my gear, took one last glance at the mage, still breathing. Good. I stepped out the back into the mist. No one waited for me, no patrols, no torches. The alley was empty, slick with rain and silence. I walked down it slowly, one hand brushing the wall as I moved, letting the blood dry on my fingers. The night swallowed me. Scene 5. The Child and the Grave. I was 10 when I tried to steal my first apple, red, bright, almost glowing in the grey morning mist. I'd watched the vendor for hours, an old woman with thick arms and sharper eyes. She had a crooked cane and a knife hidden in her apron. I knew the risks, but I was starving. The kind of hunger that twists your bones, not just your belly. The kind that makes you mean. My fingers moved quick, fast as any alley rat. But her cane moved faster. She broke 2 fingers, then she screamed for the guards. I ran. The alleys taught me silence, taught me shadows. I slept under staircases, inside crates, in the backs of broken carts. I stole scraps from gutters and ash bins. Learned the names of the men who ruled the streets, the enforcers, the snatchers, the body thieves. Learned where they hunted, learned when to vanish. The city had no mercy, and I had no name, only the memory of a woman in a red shawl. Only the image of her eyes going still while a man with a crooked smile walked away laughing. Vesh Narot. One night I tried to rob the wrong man. He wore a black cloak, moved too still for a drunk. I followed him anyway. He didn't turn, didn't slow. I was desperate, cold, angry. I pulled a rusted blade and leapt from the crates. He caught my wrist mid-air, spun me, dropped me flat. His boot pressed against my chest. I couldn't breathe. He knelt, pulled down his hood, a mask, bone white. No mouth, no eyes. Just the eye. "You remember how to hate," he said. His voice was a whisper and a bell. "You'll learn to make it quiet." He didn't kill me, didn't beat me. He fed me, took me down beneath the city. Through tunnels I'd never seen. Past gates with no hinges, past whispers that weren't human. To the grave. They didn't ask my name. They gave me one, Bale Noteblade. They didn't offer comfort. They offered truth. Pain was truth. Discipline was survival. Obedience was the edge of freedom. They broke me, then rebuilt me, made me faster, quieter, stronger, taught me to see what others miss, taught me to listen to silence. I learned knives before I learned full words again, learned to move without breath, kill without hesitation, vanish without trace. But I never forgot. They said the grave must come before the self. They taught detachment, precision, restraint. But I kept a name hidden in my chest, a secret beneath the discipline, a name etched into my bones. Narot, the man who made me watch. The reason I screamed for 2 days without sound. The reason the old ones found me worth saving. I earned the mask on my 16th of year. But they didn't give it to me. I took it. They sent me to the pit, 3 against 1, a trial of worth. I left the others broken. The mask waited on the stone, black as crow's feathers, sharp as judgment. I placed it on my face, and for the first time in 6 years, I smiled. Scene 6. The Grave's Return. Dawn had not yet broken, but I was already home. The grave has no gates, no banners, no lights, just the old crypt mouth hidden beneath the twisted spine of the city. Most who pass it see only ruin, moss, rot, broken statues of saints long buried in scandal. But we know better. The stone slab that marks the entrance responded to the sigil I pressed against it. My blood, my breath, my will. It slid open with a sound like teeth grinding, and I stepped into the dark. The air down here is older than time. It smells of wet stone, ash, candle smoke, and the faintest trace of iron. A place carved not for comfort, but for silence. The halls wound like veins beneath Arquest, each turn the same as the last. Unless you knew the rhythm. I did, My boots made no sound as I walked. I passed empty alcoves, sleeping statues, training pits etched with blood. No guards, no patrols. There was no need. No one comes here unless they belong, or unless they're about to die. At the heart of the grave, I found them, 7 figures. Hooded, still, seated in a perfect circle around the stone. Their masks glowed faintly, bone white, silver, ash black, void glass. Each a symbol, each a name never spoken aloud. They did not rise. They did not speak. But I felt their eyes. In the center of the chamber, a slab waited. I approached. Kneeling, I removed the mask from my belt, set it upon the stone. Blood still streaked its edges. One of them, taller than the rest, leaned forward slightly. "Narot is dead." It wasn't a question. I nodded. "You were seen?" Another asked, voice like paper over flame. "No witnesses," I said. "The mage lives." But she saw nothing. Silence. One of them stood, walked forward with measured grace. Her mask shimmered, a single eye framed in moonlight silver. She studied me. Then the blood-marked mask. "The first kill," she said. "Sanctioned, complete." She picked up the mask, raised it in both hands, and placed it gently back into mine. "Raven." The word echoed in the chamber like a crown being lowered. "You wear it now, not as student, not as shadow, but as blade." I bowed my head, then rose, mask in hand, knife at my side, and turned. As I walked the winding halls back to the surface, the grave faded behind me like a dream stitched in bone. I emerged beneath a black sky flecked with dying stars. The fog still clung to the rooftops, the city still breathed like a sleeping beast. But I was not the same. The boy who had watched his mother bleed in the mud had died long ago. Tonight I had given him peace. Tonight I became the blade. Tonight the city remembered. The end.